What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new e-bike to review made by Hitway. Now this is a full suspension smaller bike with 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires in the front, and as you can see here you have a nice front fork and a rear shock in the back. Nothing high end, but just enough to give you a little bit of that cushion when you're going out on those longer rides. You have your disc brakes in the rear and in the front, as well as a 48-volt battery system with 15 amp hours of capacity. You have a battery meter on top here that shows you how full it is. You have a lock, and you also have an on and off switch on the other side here as well, so that you're able to turn the battery off and remove it if you'd like to charge the battery inside of your house or somewhere in a more convenient location. We do have a fixed seat here, a really nice long plush, very soft seat here. We have integrated front headlights as well as rear taillights that light up. So I'll turn those on for you real quick. Hold the up button on here to turn on the lights. You can see the lights are on there, and they will also brighten when you press the brakes. It's not very noticeable during the day, but at night it's quite bright. And the front headlight as well. Okay, and we also have a really cool display here with your battery meter on top, your total speed right here, also to the 10th of a mile per hour, your pedal assist level 1, 2, and 3, as well as 0, so you can turn that off completely if you'd like. Also have the lights here set to manual. We can turn those off, and they'll automatically turn on when the light gets dark enough outside, but you can manually turn the lights on as well, and then you have an odometer here at the bottom. It does come with a bell and really nice brake levers, a 7-speed transmission in the rear, so there are no gears up front, just in the rear. We do have a double chain guard for the front there on both sides of the chain, which is really nice. A 750 watt motor in the rear, and it comes with a bunch of accessories as well, which I thought was really cool. It comes with a front and a rear fender, so the front fender attaches like this here if you want to install that, and then the rear fender attaches in the back and looks like that there. I decided not to run with any fenders. I usually choose not to have fenders on my bikes. I've just found that the few times that it's raining and I want to ride, you know, if I want to, I can install them for the quick ride, but usually I don't have much of a need for fenders, and I like the way bikes look without them, but those do come included. You also get a really nice Allen wrench set that has a screwdriver as well as flathead sockets and sort of like different sized wrenches for your different bolts and nuts on the bike itself. It comes with an interesting Hitway air pump as well. So that's got a little stand you can put down to hold with your foot or to use with your hand. And it's got both ends on there. It actually comes with a Schrader and a Presta valve, which is really cool. And you can kind of lift this part up like this, as you can see here, and you're able to push this piece down. So with your foot you can hold it there, and then you can pump with your hand here, and then that kind of all locks together. Really cool. You have a 2-amp charger, and it also comes with a bicycle lock, which I thought was really cool, including a mount to mount this on any of the bars of the bike, and you can if you'd like, you could have the lock mounted there so that wherever you go you're ready if you want to lock the bike up. And this is all included with the price of the bike, which right now is on sale for about $800 on Amazon. I have a link in the video description box. You can also get it on their website as well. So I'm going to take this bike out and see how it rides with the full suspension, and see how these 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires can hold up to the lake, the dirt, and we're even going to try some hills and see how well this thing climbs with just the 750 watts of power. It says that it can do up to 20 miles per hour, and that it also has the ability to climb up to a 25-degree angle. So we're going to kind of see how that does. I am a heavier rider, up at around the 240, 250 pound range, and this has a weight limit of about 264 pounds, which is pretty good. So it's a small footprint, and it's a really kind of convenient, quick bike to hop on and get around town at an affordable price of around $800. You really can't beat it. Free shipping. So let's go test this thing out. All right, so one thing I really like so far starting off with this e-bike is the really clear screen. It's very easy to read. You can see the speed nice and huge, the pedal assist, the distance, and your battery. All the things that you need and nothing that you really don't. Now obviously for the price point in this e-bike is not a high-end, you know, bike with all the most expensive components, but for around $800 they can get you out and get you going 20 miles an hour, throttle only, or pedal assist levels, whichever you prefer, 7 speeds of gearing. And so it's just enough to kind of give you, I think, you know, the ability to get around and have that feel of an electric bike with full suspension for, you know, under $1,000, which nowadays is becoming easier to find. But I don't know, so far I'm really impressed with it. It's got a comfortable ride. The seat is really plush. The suspension so far, at least over the bumps, seems to be pretty smooth. I don't hear any clanging or banging around. And everything seems to be working the way it should be. Now, I wouldn't say this is the type of bike you're going to want to really heavily off-road and go jumping off huge jumps with it. You know, the suspension, I think, is more just to smoothen out the ride and give you a more comfortable ride. It's not really meant to be a, you know, jumping type of mountain bike or anything like that. This is more just a cruiser. I feel like I'm in a jungle every time I go through this part. All right, I made it out. So far I haven't had any trouble getting the bike to go all the way up to speed with just the throttle. Even up hills, doesn't seem to have any issue. I don't have to pedal if I don't want to. There is only a 7 speed on this. I have it in the hardest gear right now to pedal at the highest speeds, and there is quite a bit of ghost pedaling. So I noticed it takes a little while for the throttle to kick in, but once it does, it definitely pushes you up to speed very easily. As you can see there, we're going 19 miles an hour, but I do have to pedal quite hard. I'm really tall at 6'3", so it's always kind of awkward pedaling these smaller bikes with the fixed seats because you can't raise the seat up. But that being said, the ride over some of these bumps I'm noticing is springy, but I wouldn't say it is very kind of controlled in a way that the suspension seems to be mostly spring. There's not much valving in the shocks to kind of counteract a bounce. So I'm getting a little bit of kind of a bounce over the bumps that lasts a little longer than I normally notice, but the ride is smooth. It's just very, I would say, bouncy, springy, which could probably be easily modified if you wanted to by putting a nicer rear shock and spring in there. But overall, it definitely does the job, and it's much better than having just a hardtail in the first place. So we're here at the lake on the usual spot where we ride. I'm gonna go take it on some trails up here and kind of test this thing out and see how it does. Now, full disclosure, I did not charge this battery up. I just basically put the battery on and started riding it. So it's not fully charged, but we do have a little over half of a battery. It started out as showing full, but I think that it was just barely at that full level. As soon as I started using it, it obviously is going to go down under a load, and now it's coming back up. You can see there it only has 1 bar missing, so it seems to be somewhat accurate. There's a lot more levels to it than your typical screen is only going to have, say, you know, 4 or 5 bars. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 10 total bars on the energy bar. And as you can see there, it's kind of creeping its way back up. And probably more noticeable that it's moving because there's 10 gradations instead of 5 or 4, where you might see it just go up 1 bar or back down 1 when you're using it under load as that voltage changes in the battery pack. So you see a little bit more movement, but it's kind of cool because, like I said, it gives you a little bit more of a specific idea of what the battery is at. I prefer percentages because I think, or even voltage is probably the most ideal, so you can actually watch your voltage, but it is going to fluctuate. It's not going to stay in one place. Unless you have a gigantic battery that can handle the voltage sag, you're going to see under load batteries lower their voltage as they're being used and then kind of come back up as they rest. So if you want to get an accurate depiction of where your battery is at as far as a level, you should stop for a while and let the battery sit, and that will give you your true reading of where your battery is at. So like I said, under load we're at about half of the battery, and not under load we're at about 3/4 of a battery. So we'll be testing that out. I'm not doing a range test on this video. This is just a preliminary test, but I may do a range test in the future. Leave a comment down below if you want to see that video. We're at 1 mile right now. We're going to take it out for a few miles and kind of test it out over the trails and see how everything holds up. Let's get going. So like I said, those fat tires really make a smooth experience. It's kind of like almost like cheating, I'd say, but nowadays it seems to be the standard. Everybody likes the fat tires. They make it easy to go on and off road. And with a little bit of that rear suspension, just softens things up just enough that it makes it pretty comfortable. Like I said, I am getting a little bit of a bounce that's not stopping after one bounce. It's kind of seems to continue to bounce. I may need to adjust that shock a little, maybe stiffen it up because I might be a little heavier than the average rider. But also I'm sitting farther back on the seat because I'm taller, which may put a little bit more weight over the rear of the bike as opposed to more up front or in the center. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So because I'm a taller rider, I'm sitting more towards the rear of the bike seat rather than the front. And there is a ton of room, as you can see there. You can scoot forward if you need to, or back at the very end. And then this is an adjustable spring here. It looks like it's tightened down about halfway, so I could adjust this dial here, and that will tighten or loosen the spring compression. Not a very big spring, you know, a very small reservoir for the shock itself, but better than nothing. And I'd say, you know, if you have the option to have suspension or not, even some bike suspensions that are just entry level, it really makes a difference on the ride quality, especially over long distances. And I'd say even more so if you go off-road like I do. I tend to ride on road a little bit, and then I go to places like this to go riding, and it makes it a lot more comfortable to have suspension, even if it's not the best. As long as there's some flexion and ability to kind of absorb some of those bigger bumps, it's really nice to have that. So this does have front and rear suspension. All right, let's keep riding. The weather here has just cooled down greatly. It's about 80 degrees now. We've been having triple digits all summer, and we're starting to get that cooler weather. I'm here for it. I'm excited. Let me know where you ride, what city or state you live in, or even country if you don't live in the United States like I do. And what's the temperature where you ride usually? Is it really cold in the winter, super hot in the summer, or more mild where you live? Do you get rain? Leave it in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear other people's experiences riding bikes, and you know how much of the year they can enjoy taking their bikes out or not being able to ride their bikes if there's snow on the ground or different elements. We don't get snow here, so that's never really a factor. So a bunch of sand and different types of materials down there. So I'm going to actually drive down here and see how it does riding along in this sand right here, just to give us an idea of its ability to hold up. It does have smaller 20-inch tires by 4-inch wide, but I think that they're wide enough that it's going to be able to go through that stuff with no problem. So depending on where you live and what type of terrain you ride on, you know, you're going to want different types of tires. If you only are riding on the road, obviously road tires. If you do a mixed use type riding like this, I highly recommend the fat tire e-bikes, or any, you know, even a fat tire regular bike. Although if you don't have power, if you don't have a motor, the bigger tires are a little bit heavier, so they do take a little bit more effort. All right, we're going to go through the sand here and see if I can go through without slipping out too bad. So this is very, very loose sand. One thing I worry about is the kids here bring glass, unfortunately, down here, and they drink, and you know, maybe adults too, but mostly the high school kids come down here, and unfortunately people will bring glass down, and so you will find glass and metal bits and pieces everywhere every once in a while, so you kind of got to be careful that you don't get a flat tire. Definitely has a lot of torque right off the line. As soon as you pull that throttle, it really starts going, so it definitely has a lot of torque for a 750 watt motor. About what you'd expect, I guess. All right, so it handled this hand all right. Go ahead and get back up on the trail here. Okay, we got a really steep hill coming up here, a dirt hill. I'm going to put it in the easier to pedal gears, the taller gears here, and see if I can stay seated on this bike. Now, again, I am a bigger rider at 6'3", 240 pounds, and you know, I have really long legs, and so you know, my ability to kind of pedal evenly and not having my knees up so high is hard for me to do. So if you're a smaller rider, this bike would probably be ideal for you. Wow, it went up that hill without a problem. And it's still going. Still climbing this hill. I haven't had to get off the seat, which is really impressive. I'm gonna actually kind of try and roll back here a little bit. I'm gonna kind of roll back here a little bit and show you guys this hill. So I don't know if you could tell in the video how steep the hill is, but lots of ruts and fairly steep hill that I was able to get up without having any issues putting my feet down or anything like that. So pretty cool. The step over height, the step over clearance is great on this bike. It's so low without any racks or anything that you're able to swing your leg over really easily. Obviously, like I said, I'm a taller rider, but I think even for people that aren't quite as tall, even as me, you wouldn't have much of an issue if that's something that you struggle with bikes, is getting your leg over. Because of those 20-inch tires, the height is just so easy to just swing your leg over and hop on and get off. So it's a great like little trail bike to just hop on, hop off, you know, do whatever you need to do, get back on. It just makes it really easy. Can smell the barbecue going out here. Check out how this water's coming in. Really cool. Such a beautiful area. All right guys, so overall I'm fairly impressed with this e-bike. Really holding up well. No weird noises or issues with it. Comfortable seat. Plenty of power. 20 mile per hour top speed. 15 amp hour battery pack. Really cool clear display. Front and rear lights that are integrated to the battery, the bike's battery, and also a rear brake light that comes on when you brake. Now this hill's pretty steep here. It's a loading dock. Let's see, without pedaling at all, how it does up here. All right, so down to about 8 miles an hour up that. Fairly steep boat launch ramp when the water's full. And then we have one more over here that's really steep, and to be honest, I struggled to get up this hill with a lot of my e-bikes because of how steep it is, even with a running start sometimes. So I'm pretty sure without a running start, it's not going to be able to go all the way to the top without kind of going sideways to take some of that grade out of the climb. But I think if I had my speed up, I'd be able to do it pretty easily. So let's try both. Let's try it at speed, since I'm already at speed right now, and see how it does. And then I'm going to come back down and put the throttle on like right about here and just ride up the steep part. I know it won't, you know, go that far because I'm a heavy rider, almost 250 pounds. So let's see how it does just straight up with this 750 watt motor, 250 pound rider. Okay, so it did it at about 6.5 miles an hour at its slowest point. So obviously I'm not going to be able to do that, you know, without having the run up speed, but I'd be interested to see kind of how far it can go. All right, so now we're back at the bottom. We're gonna try this with just very limited run-up space and speed. So we're basically at the bottom here of the launch ramp. I'm just gonna kind of see how far it goes. Like I said, I don't expect it to do much with 750 watts and my rider weight. Now, if you're a lighter rider or even a kid, like my 8-year-old, he could probably very easily go up this without any issues. We're down to 5 miles an hour. Can it do it? 4. I don't want to completely kill the motor. It might have been able to do that last 6 to 8 feet or so, I guess, but I hate to be putting full power into the motor and it not be actually going anywhere. All right, you guys, so that's my review of the Hitway e-bike BK29. Overall, it's been a great bike. It's got plenty of power. It's got an easy step over design, integrated front and rear lights, all the bells and whistles that you would expect at an entry-level price point for an e-bike. I think that it's a great option for someone who's looking to get into e-biking, doesn't want to spend a ton of money, or if you have a younger kid that you want to be able to get to school, and they live, you know, a mile or a few miles away from school and they want to be able to get to school and back, this is a great option to kind of get into the e-biking world. It's not a ton of money, but it's got, like I said, all the safety features of the lights and, you know, disc brakes and everything you would need at a basic level, 7-speed shifter, but it's all simple. It's all easy to kind of work on, and like I said, I don't think you can beat the price point at $800. Now, you're not going to be blazing any trails at 30, 40 miles an hour like some other bikes, but again, at about half the price or less, this is a great option for anyone who wants to get into the e-biking world. I do have a link in the description box of this video if you're interested, through Amazon and through the website directly. If you decide to pick one up, let me know. And if you have any questions about one, if you get one, be sure to leave a comment down below. I like to respond to all the comments anyone leaves. And if you have any questions about this bike or any other bike, leave those comments in there as well. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.